Hey everyone, Hailey here, and I am back with a new video for the week. Today I kind of wanted to sit down with you guys and update you all on what's been happening in my life because a lot has changed over the past month, but especially since the last update video that I shot. If you're not already aware, I'm no longer in California. So I have officially made the move to Memphis, Tennessee. If you're sitting there going, what are you doing in Memphis, Tennessee? You have a lot to catch up on, so allow me to do the honors. I am currently a graduate student in the School of Communication Sciences and Disorders at the University of Memphis. Yes, I'm finally pursuing my master's degree in speech language pathology, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I'm gonna tell you guys all about it. First off, I kind of want to just talk a little bit about my transition from like California to Tennessee and tell you how that went. So previously I was working at SoundHound and I worked there for about 6 months. I fulfilled my contract pretty much. And then that ended at the end of July. The last week of July was my last week of work. And from there, I did drive across the country. I didn't drive alone, but I did drive. So that took a few days. It was a total blast. The places that we stopped were Lake Havasu, Albuquerque, Oklahoma City, and then we made it from Oklahoma City to Memphis. And it was fun. I would recommend it if you haven't seen the country. I hadn't really seen a lot of the things that I saw. I haven't really traveled much outside of the West Coast. This is the farthest east I've been, Memphis. So it's a whole new experience. So I am in school. I've had my orientation. This is currently actually the 4th going on the 5th week of the semester. We're on the semester system here at U of M, and things are going pretty well. Starting to pick up. I had my first exam yesterday, so that was an interesting experience. And by the way, I am attending classes physically in person. This is not Zoom University, thank God. I really don't think that I could do that again. That was miserable, and I only really did it for 1 quarter, my final quarter at UCLA. But it's in person here, which has been amazing. That's kind of really, I think, where the joy in school is. I've met a lot of amazing people. I'm enrolled in 12 units, which does make me full-time. Let me tell you about the classes that I'm taking. So I am taking a course called Introduction to Clinic, which is exactly as it sounds. It's an introduction to clinic. So that's 2 parts. There is a lecture meeting once weekly where they kind of go over different clinical things, like things that you might encounter, how to write clinical notes called SOAP notes, stuff like that. And then there is actually the clinical portion, which this is one of the amazing things about Memphis. Even as someone who doesn't have the background, I am in clinic from day 1, okay? This isn't common. A lot of times programs don't let their students go into clinic until the 2nd semester. That's not the case here. Everyone is in clinic. I actually have 2 clinical placements. My first experience is strictly observation. I'm observing another student clinician who is working with children. Our clinic in the school, we do have an on-campus clinic. It sees both children and adults. The patient that I'm working with right now that I'm observing weekly is a child. And so that is a weekly commitment. It's just 45 minutes. The other clinical placement that I have is screening. So I'm actually going into schools here in the city of Memphis, and I am administering both speech screenings and hearing screenings to children in the schools. These are ranging from babies. I've done it on a 4-month-old up until like 5 years old. So it's a pretty wide range. I do speech screenings. Basically, I kind of interact with them a little bit, or if they're a baby, I just talk to their caregiver or their teacher and kind of ask them, about the child, pretty much about, what sort of vocalizations they make, what sort of interaction, how they seem socially, that sort of a thing. If it's a child that's a little bit older, like preschool age, it's kind of more fun. It's more hands-on. I actually get to like sit and play with them, and from there I evaluate their language. I pretty much just go through a booklet and ask them to name pictures. It's really simple stuff like a cat and a dog and a ball and a cookie. And from there I can evaluate where they're at. Hearing is also really good. I get to do 2 different types of hearing screenings. One is a TIMP and one is an OAE. I don't remember what that stands for right now, but if you're really curious, you can look it up. There is also a frequency-based, why can't I remember what it's called right now? Basically, we play different pure tones for the child, and they have to indicate when they hear the sound, so we're testing their hearing with that one. So that's really fun. Well, the children aren't really too keen on me putting something inside of their ear and having it in their ear for like 2 minutes, and then it blows like a little puff of air. They get really scared. So that is, as fun as it's been and as eye-opening as it's been, I've enjoyed it and I appreciate it. Yeah, I know that I don't really want to work with children because they're hard to work with, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's not like an adult. Like, you can just tell an adult, like, hey, I'm gonna put this thing in your ear, it's gonna blow a little puff of air, you don't even need to do anything, it doesn't hurt, it'll be over in 2 minutes. And they're like, cool. Kid has a full-blown meltdown. They don't want me coming near them. They don't want anything in their ear. It's really uncomfortable, and it makes the job hard because there's a lot of like wait time where I'm waiting for them to calm down, or I'm waiting for them to feel comfortable enough with me to do the speech screening, to do the hearing screening. Because even with the speech screening, sometimes like they don't know me, so they're really shy. You know how kids are. Like, I'm talking to them and I'm asking them all these questions. They don't know who I am. They have no clue where I came from. And also I wear scrubs in the clinic, and a lot of kids are afraid of like doctors and nurses, so I get it. Screening, I do have that placement. It's about 3 hours every week, so that's really a lot of direct hands-on experience. That is where I'm using actual skill that they're teaching me. So that is part of my clinical hours separate from observation. The other class that I have is neurological basis of communication, which is exactly what it sounds. We're looking at the brain. This is really interesting. It's also really difficult content. So I've been trying to wrap my head around it. I feel like it's hard and I'm gonna have to study a lot. I have an exam coming up in 2 weeks and I'm extremely nervous. The other class that I'm really nervous about the exam for is anatomy and physiology of the speech mechanism. So this is really, just anything involving the body is really hard, guys. Like, there's a lot of stuff inside your body, and you would be surprised the structures that support speech that you don't even realize support speech. Like, really everything down to your posture, down to obviously your lungs. You have to use your lungs to speak. You have to be able to breathe. That's what we're learning about currently. It's very detailed, and I have to learn all of this stuff. It's hard, but it's really interesting at the same time. And my professor has very, very high expectations in that class, so I have to do very well. The class that I have on Thursdays is language disorders. So this class is just what it sounds like. I'm learning about language disorders in children primarily. I don't know if we're gonna get into adults, to be honest, but I think we're mostly doing developmental language disorders. This class is pretty straightforward. It's a lot of discussion. It's very reading-based discussion, as I mentioned, both online and in person. We have to do discussion posts, but then when we come into the lecture, my professor lectures a little bit, but there's also a lot of back and forth between students and professor, which is nice. And then the last class that I have on my schedule is phonetic transcription. This is my bread and butter, as you guys know. I mean, I have a degree in linguistics, so this is the class that I feel the most comfortable in. That's not to say it's not challenging, because there are some differences between what I learned in undergrad, which is very formally linguistic based, and what I'm learning here, which is all about phonetic transcription as it's applied to the clinic and to real-time transcription, which is very different from what I'm used to. But other than that, it's been really good. My professor for that class is really entertaining, and he's really a cool guy, and he knows what he's talking about, so I enjoy it. The other component of my studies that I must talk about is the fact that I am a graduate assistant. Once again, if you didn't know, I am a graduate assistant at the School of Communication Sciences Disorders. So I'm working in the Origin of Language Laboratory. This is actually a project that's funded by the NIH that takes place at a few different schools. I believe University of Memphis, Emory University in Atlanta, and I think Yale or Harvard or Brown. Oh my God, I don't remember. One of those schools, it's probably none of those schools. You can look it up if you're interested. But basically my role in this is I have a weekly assignment that I do. I'm listening to audio files of infants' speech. Infants who have been wearing like recording devices. They wear them pretty much all day. I label 5-minute segments of their speech, basically examining what sort of vocalizations they make, what sort of interaction they have with the people in their family and in their environment. And it's pretty interesting. We're learning a lot about the types of utterances and the types of vocalizations that children, babies, really make. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of variety. I mean, you know, when you are around a baby, you may think like they just cry or they laugh or they whine, but they do a lot. And it's amazing the things that they do to get people's attention, to get adults' attention. So that's what I'm doing. It's a lot of fun. It's 20 hours a week and I do get paid for it. So I get a stipend, and this has lowered the cost of my tuition to in-state tuition rate, which is pretty good. With this graduate assistant position, this was the cheapest school for me to go to, even cheaper than San Jose State University living at home, okay? Well, maybe not living at home because I am paying rent here, but still, like tuition only, it's cheaper, and I actually think the program is better, to be honest. I'm really happy with my decision to go to this program. I have no regrets. I'm really enjoying living in Memphis. I've met a lot of people, like I said. I've met actually a lot of great people in the lab where I'm a GA, because there are a few of us. There's a team of about like 12 or 15 of us. So I've gotten to know some of those people pretty well, and it's really interesting. A lot of people who are from the South, when I told them that I was going to school here, they were like, you're gonna have this huge culture shock. To be honest, I really don't feel like I did. Like, everything is the same pretty much in my day-to-day life. Like, we have all the creature comforts here, okay? It's not like I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Like, Memphis is a huge city in Tennessee and in the South. All right, you all, so that's how things have been going since I've been in Memphis. Let me know if y'all have any questions. I'd be happy to answer, you know, any questions that you have about the program or anything like that, especially if you're interested in becoming an SLP. I know there are a few of you out there. Not a ton, but I know a few subscribers have said, like, I'm really interested in this, and even a few people who went on to UCLA in the linguistics department have commented and said they're interested in pursuing SLP. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about my experience so far. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, guys. Bye.